At Starbucks, we've more than doubled paid parental leave, now up to 18 weeks. Which means Starbucks baristas can spend more time with the best company they know, their families. At Starbucks, benefits like parental leave are just the start.
Introducing the new Volvo XC90. With 7-seat versatility, Google built-in, and advanced safety features for all your precious cargo. The new Volvo XC90, designed for life. Visit volvocars.com/US to learn more.
Welcome into 49ers Access. My name is Sterling Bennett, and today we're going to react to day number 7 of San Francisco 49ers training camp. I know you're enjoying the Hall of Fame game as we speak, but we're going to get into some really intense stuff during training camp today, including Brock Purdy's near-perfect outing, including one major highlight you're not going to want to miss, some major injury news, and some defensive standouts. But first, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the show. Leave us that 5-star audio podcast review, and let's dive into day number 7 of San Francisco 49ers training camp. And I will say this, the day of training camp was unfortunately overshadowed by what transpired before the actual practice session, that being the load of roster moves this team made and the injuries that are starting to compile on the roster. Now, none of them right now are major injuries, but the more they linger, the more you are concerned about them as they progress. But before practice, the San Francisco 49ers signed quarterback Carter Bradley, the son of defensive assistant Gus Bradley. So always love a good Nepo baby on one of the practice fields. They also signed running back Amir Abdullah, wide receivers Marquez Callaway and Andy Isabella. They released wide receiver Equanimeous St. Brown. I told you he probably wouldn't last very long, by the way. They also waived offensive lineman Sebastian Gutierrez, Malik Knowles, the wide receiver, and then safety, surprise cut, Jalen Mahoney. I would not be shocked to watch Mahoney return to the roster maybe after some guys get healthy. I think Mahoney has so much value on special teams, but clearly San Francisco needing to make room for other people in the wake of the injuries they currently have. Cut Mahoney and are going to go on without him, at least in the near future. That said, I would assume they don't carry 4 quarterbacks this year. Yes, you have Curtis Rourke, who's on the IR/PUP list now as he recovers from an ACL injury, but Carter Bradley probably isn't going to last a long time on the roster, so maybe that's why Mahoney makes his way back on the roster. But the reason why they signed all these guys was because we got a lot of injury news today and a lot of clarity on the injuries we already knew about, starting with Jacob Cowing. He has a hamstring. He didn't practice today, but I will add, he did do some light work on the sideline, so some good news from Jacob Cowing. Ricky Pearsall returned. Many people out there assumed it was because of the hamstring injury, but it was a simple day of rest 2 days ago when he missed practice. Now back today for another padded practice. Micah Williams, who had a minor ankle injury, he also came back today and didn't show signs of it. And then Ben Bartch, the team's left guard, he also came back, is no longer on the NFI list. So some good news there for the San Francisco 49ers. That's kind of where it ends when it comes to the positive injury news on the day, because we got some, I don't want to say serious updates, but we certainly got some intriguing ones nonetheless. Rookie running back Jordan James, who has looked really good in camp so far, apparently has a knee injury. Not sure if that's a strain, a deep bruise. We know it's not a tear. That's good, right? But don't know exactly what's wrong with it, but he does have a knee injury. Not even sure what knee it actually is, but he is going to be reevaluated throughout the week. So Jordan James not going to be seen the rest of this week. My assumption is, and they've kind of alluded to this, everybody who's not practicing now that may have injuries that maybe they could practice through, they're going to hold all those players out until joint practices next week, leading in to the Denver Broncos game with the Denver Broncos. So these guys may not practice this week. They could come back next week. But I do know San Francisco wants to hold these guys out for joint practices, even if they can go right now. They want these guys fully healthy for what Kyle Shanahan values as some of the most important practices and sessions of the offseason / preseason program. The other injury is to cornerback Deommodore Lenoir. This one kind of came out of nowhere because he missed practice 2 days ago. We didn't really know why. It was unknown, but I guess he has a hip irritation, whatever that means. He is supposed to be back by next week's joint practice sessions, so not too concerning, but cornerbacks, got to have your hips to pivot and whatnot with the wide receivers, so I wouldn't think that's too serious, but it may be something to watch. My assumption is Lenoir is not going to play during any of the preseason games. If he does, it's very, very, very short. But he's probably not going to play against the Broncos in a week and a half, and may make his debut in week 2. But Shanahan, knowing they have 2 sets of joint practices this offseason leading into preseason games, I think he values those more, which may make him rest the veteran guys further or throughout the entire preseason, unlike the previous couple years. But Lenoir's injury, I wouldn't say it is concerning, but again, you hear these hip injuries, you start seeing things pile up, you start to go, okay, what's going on? But to me, and it always has been, the most concerning injury is to Jauan Jennings. He has missed his 3rd consecutive practice. This team signed 2 new wide receivers today. It's a calf injury. I've talked plenty about why calf injuries are troublesome. Dre Greenlaw being one of the big reasons to point to as to, hey, let's avoid playing on a calf injury. Tyrese Halliburton in the NBA Finals this past year. Calf injuries are so tricky, and nowadays they seemingly are the kind of the prerequisite to a ACL tear, which you hope it doesn't happen. But Jauan's had this lingering calf injury for about a month or so. He had it during the OTA sessions, and now it's creeped itself back in. And so they said they have no timetable for return for Jauan Jennings. That is a red flag. When you have no timetable for return for one of your star wide receivers or a guy you're going to rely on to be your number 1 receiver with Brandon Aiyuk out, with DeMarcus Robinson possibly suspended, if this calf is a problem, then I'm sorry. I love Jauan Jennings. We are completely tabling the contract negotiations now. Maybe there is some truth to Jauan playing up the injury during these negotiations, but from the outside looking in, I want no part of signing a wide receiver, let alone any player, that is, that could have a calf injury. Again, this has this major concern for a calf injury to be worse. So right now, if I'm San Francisco, are saying let's pause contract talks, let's get you healthy first, then move on, because I do not want to ink a player to a new deal. Whether it's 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, doesn't matter. I do not want to sign Jauan Jennings to a 3-year, $12 million a year contract when it looks like you have a pretty serious injury. Now, it isn't serious just yet, but the more it lingers, the more concerning it is. So, it's bothersome. It has me somewhat scared for the season at wide receiver. Now, you have Pearsall, you have Cowan, you have guys you like in the room, but San Francisco has continually had to shift and sign and cut guys to make sure they have enough wide receivers for camp. And of course, they have guys like Tariq Owens and Isaiah Hodgins, guys that can fill maybe the bigger slot receiver role if Jennings does miss some time. But both those guys are unproven. Both those guys really can't be relied upon just yet. So I'm hoping in a week, Jauan can come back and look fine, but it's getting to a point where it's no longer just, oh, he needs some rest. It's like, no. Like, take the entire offseason off, come back week 1. Like, let's not even think about having Jauan out there because for himself, if the calf injury is a problem and it grows to a worse degree, he's not getting paid. And if you're San Francisco and he's playing on the calf injury and he gets hurt, you're screwed. And if you pay him before the calf injury gets worse, you're doubly screwed. So a lot happening and going on and into the Jauan Jennings injury that you just worry about, you don't love. I also don't think players like Andy Isabella, who, yes, is very fast, makes the roster. These guys are camp bodies, unreliable ones at that. So San Francisco has, not by their own doing, put themselves in a place where the wide receiver room can just ruin their season, or at least, certainly damn it to a certain degree. But they may have to add somebody. They really may have to add somebody if this thing progresses. But let's get to the YouTube comments for a second. Going to Lori Matthews, and she says, it sounds like most of these injuries should correct themselves before the season starts, which are positive. Yes, Lenoir, Renardo Green, Jacob Cowing, Jordan James, all those injuries feel like they should be fine in the near future. They'll come back before the preseason's over. They'll get training camp reps. Like, all of that will clear itself up. However, Jauan, although he can be in that category, much more worrisome than the other 4 or 5 guys I listed prior. Lori continues here saying, JJ truly can't go. They need to go get a bigger name, sort of like when Emmanuel Sanders came over in 2019. I think a lot of what happens with Jauan Jennings, or at least what San Francisco does, if something does indeed happen to Jauan Jennings with an injury, that is reliant on how the NFL handles Demarcus Robinson's suspension. Because if you walk into the year and Jauan can't play, but they don't give Robinson a suspension, then you are a little more comfortable walking into the year with Pearsall, Robinson, who's been pretty good in camp thus far, Cowing, Russell Gage. Like, you can survive a little bit of time depending on how severe Jauan's injury could become. So, but if the NFL then tells San Francisco, hey, Robinson's popped for 3 or 4 games, he'll miss, the first 5 games of the year, whatever it may be, and Jennings is hurt, then yes, you start looking at roster cutdown days, which vet may get cut, who can you acquire before they get cut. A lot goes into this. It's very early to get into that, but again, this Jauan Jennings thing, I've been trying to tell you guys, it's more serious than we think it is, and I'm hoping it isn't as serious as it seems like, but I am very concerned for Jauan Jennings, for himself wanting to get paid, but also for San Francisco, because they're already really thin at receiver. They have some depth, but they really don't have the proven bodies. But if Jauan's out, Aiyuk's out, Robinson can't play because he's suspended, you're walking into week 1 with Pearsall, if he's healthy, Jordan Watkins, maybe Cowing if he's healthy, and Russell Gage and Isaiah Hodgins, like guys that just you really would rather have towards the bottom of your depth chart outside of Pearsall. So it's just a rather...
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Life gets easier with great assists, and State Farm is here to dish one your way. Get in touch over the phone or on the app to get the teammate you need. State Farm with the assist. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability and eligibility vary by state.
Kind of a puzzling situation to be in because, again, Lori Matthews asking the right questions here, asking, when will the NFL notify the team of Robinson's suspension? Is there a timeline? I'm not sure. This thing happened in November of last year. You would have liked to have thought the NFL would have, hit Robinson with that when he was playing with the Rams last year. That didn't happen. You'd like to think they would have already had this investigation done and behind them, but that hasn't happened either. Which, again, to no fault of San Francisco, it's put them in kind of a bind of like, we don't know if we need to make a move or not. Because if Robinson's here, then we should be okay. But if he's going to be out, and the worst case scenario possible is Aiyuk's out for 2 or 3 months because of the injury, Jennings gets hurt or the injury becomes more severe and lingers for a few games into the season, Then in week 3 of the preseason, pre-roster cutdown day, the NFL kind of pushes the hammer down and says, bang, 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 Robinson, you're done too. And San Francisco is like, well, it would have been nice to know 2 months ago or a week and a half ago. You would have given us the opportunity to sign somebody, because the more these games come, the more practices come and go, guys are going to get hurt. Other teams are going to see their star receivers get hurt too. Then you'll see Keenan Allen sign, Gabe Davis sign, Amari Cooper sign. Guys that were all kind of pitching out there of like, this guy could be an option for San Francisco. They're going to be gone by the time the NFL picks up their feet and figures this thing out. So San Francisco kind of has their hands tied with the injuries. It sucks. It's unfortunate. It's not their fault. But you're kind of hoping and praying Jauan Jennings and the injury and his calf can heal and be okay, because if not, they were in a real sticky spot as the preseason and the training camp sessions progress. Cal Chipto with an NFL Hall of Fame game opinion says here, I'm convinced the Lions will suck this year, so poorly coached, or will have a bad defense at least. I think you're right. Now, I won't say suck, but I think the Lions are in, they're due for a setback. You lose Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn's gone, a lot of your coaching staff is gone. You didn't lose too many big players, but you lose the consistency of that coaching staff. We've seen it in San Francisco. It's very rare you go through 3 defensive coordinators and survive and maintain. San Francisco did that for 2 of them and couldn't do it last year. Now, the Lions, I think, are in a much better place than San Francisco was last year, roster-wise, injury-wise, but all it takes is one, and it's kind of over. I think Ben Johnson's loss is being underestimated and under-talked about. I think Aaron Glenn leaving isn't being talked about enough. The Lions, I think, are probably going to finish in 3rd place, maybe 2nd at best in the NFC North. The Packers are coming. They're here. They're going to be good. They got better during the offseason and the draft. The Bears with Ben Johnson, I don't know how good they're going to be, but certainly improved their roster around Caleb Williams this offseason. Brought in 3 new offensive linemen to help protect him. So the Lions and even the Vikings, if McCarthy is capable, Kevin O'Connell can call one of the best passing offenses in football, and they have weapons still. So the Lions are due for a setback, but I don't know. The NFL season, it's so hard to predict things now, but as time progresses and you get to preseason week 3, injuries pile up. We get a more clear indication as to who's winning roster spots and roster battles and camp battles, and I think we'll look at the Lions and say, may not be as scary as they once were the last couple seasons. Aaron coming in hot from 49ers First Takes with a $5 super chat, just giving away money every single time. Aaron, I'm telling you, brother, you don't have to do this, but he says, I can play slot. I'm 6'3". Unfortunately, I'm 45 on a bad knee and overweight, but I can probably run a 7-second 40-yard dash. Seriously, though, we're effed. And I'll tell you this, brother, I don't know what his name is. I'm forgetting his name, but there's a rookie out there, I think in Tampa Bay. Maybe I'm wrong, but in Tampa Bay. He's like 465 pounds, 75 pounds. If he can play, now they have him running laps during practice to lose weight with the sweatsuit on, but if he can play, Aaron, you have a spot on the roster somewhere, I'll tell you that. Maybe not playing receiver, but defensive tackle. This team may need a backup center. There's a spot for you, Aaron, on the roster. How much worse can you be than good old Jacob Brendel at playing center? But let's move on here. Thank you for the super chat, Aaron. Let's move on here to the next portion of my notes, because we got a good update on Renardo Green. He was also on the sideline today doing some work. He has a hamstring injury, but doing light work. A good indication that he's getting healthy. He's progressing well. Still about 2 weeks away, but still a good sign. When you hear guys are going to be out for nearly a month and you're like, what's going to happen with him? But he's out there the next couple of days. It's a good place to be if you are Renardo Green. Ben Bartch also returned to practice today playing left guard. He didn't do 1v1s, so, whatever there, but did take, first team reps at left guard. Shanahan shockingly did say that he was in competition with Nick Zakelj for the left guard spot, which didn't think that would be said, didn't think it was even in the zeitgeist, if you will. But I guess Nick Zakelj and Ben Bartch are vying for left guard. We'll get into more of Nick Zakelj later, but good to see Ben Bartch back out there, finally healthy, and at least if they're going to be in competition, at least now it can be that competition with him back on the field. We also saw Brandon Aiyuk for the third time at training camp. He has been a good presence amongst the practice sessions. Today, though, very involved with the wide receivers, more so during warm-ups and individual drills than team drills. But Brandon Aiyuk, right there, front and center during receiver drills, was watching Ricky Pearsall extremely close, giving him some tips and whatnot, and also doing that for the rest of the receivers. So good to see Aiyuk out there, being a coach, being a really good leader and teammate. Can't wait to watch him get back out there. I was watching Brandon Aiyuk highlights from 2023, and we really forget how good he was. I know we can say the injury and all the trade antics and whatnot during the contract negotiations, but just go back and remind yourself how good Brandon Aiyuk was. Go watch some highlights. Go watch some tape. Aiyuk was damn good in 2023. He earned every bit of that $30 million a year. Clutch in the playoffs besides the Super Bowl, mind you, but just on another level. And it now being a year removed from the contract stuff and nearly 2 years removed from that season, we often forget how good he was. And just watching highlights, you're like, man, if we can get that demon back out there, this offense is going to look a heck of a lot better. But Aiyuk was out there today helping the receivers, mainly Ricky Pearsall. So good stuff there from the pre-team drills portion of practice. I will say this, that the defense looked really bad today. And I don't mean that it's hard to say that that's a confirmed in cement the defense looked bad because Nick Bosa didn't practice, Trent Williams didn't practice, Christian McCaffrey didn't practice, Lenoir isn't out there, Green isn't out there, Mustafa isn't out there. There's so many caveats to saying that, but the defense just frankly wasn't good, mainly in coverage. The run defense was fine for the most part, but the pass defense was really bad. Now, it's not entirely the secondary's fault for that. You have linebackers, you have defensive ends and whatnot, and to kind of help you out in coverage, at least getting pressure and forcing quarterbacks out of the pocket. But this secondary was another world of bad today. They couldn't stop anything. And I literally mean they could not stop anything on passing plays. The quarterbacks today, the three of them, or I guess four of them now with Bradley out there, they were 22 for 22. Perfect on the day on their passing plays. Now, you mix in some would-be sacks in there, and maybe it's less or so, and maybe those plays lead to incompletions during actual games, but on the throws that were made, the quarterbacks were perfect. They allowed 22 of 22 completions, that being the defense. With Lenoir and Green not out there, San Francisco mixed in Dale Luter Jr., Dallas Flowers, and Upton Stout as their primary first-team cornerbacks. Trey Brown mixed in somewhat, but also slid back into the second-team role on the outside and in the slot today. It's one of those positions where, again, like receiver, when they're healthy, it's not a thin group. You have 3 or 4 or 5 guys you like at the top. Lenoir, Green, Stout, Brown, Flowers has been tremendous during training camp. Luter Jr. has come on as of recent, getting some first-team reps, and you have some intriguing guys behind them, but it's a very thin cornerback room, and if you lose guys, the holes start to show. They're extremely thin there. I would not be shocked if they cut some guys to add to it because they need some help. They signed Eli Apple, but I mean, it's Eli Apple. He's not very good. But I think San Francisco is probably going to be in position to add to the receiver room and the cornerback room as time progresses. They don't have the luxury of adding or trading guys away like I thought they would, especially with Lenoir and Green not playing. It definitely lessens how good that room can be. Now, maybe once roster cut down day comes and they're healthy, that changes. But right now, I don't think they can afford to lose anybody in that room.
The Nordstrom Anniversary Sale is on now. Shop new arrivals on sale for a limited time from Madewell, Bobbi Brown, New Balance, and more. You'll find tons of deals under $100 on summer-ready fits, plus beauty exclusives from your favorite brands. Nordstrom makes shopping easy in stores, at Nordstrom.com, and on their app. Hurry, prices go up August 4th.
I do want to pause for 1 second to kindly ask you to like, share, and subscribe, but also use this promo code right here on your screen, 49ers Access, 49 ERS ACCESS at SeatGeek.com to save yourself $20 off your first purchase. Go get yourself some Niner tickets, some MLB tickets. The trade deadline was today. You want to see your team's new acquisition or acquisitions? Get your tickets at SeatGeek.com and use that promo code 49ers Access. Green means good. Red means bad in their ticketing app they have for you. Find the green seat. Find one that works for you and use that promo code. And again, save yourself $20 off your first purchase. Okay, back to training camp and back into the team drill portion of the practice, because when I say Brock Purdy was perfect, I mean Brock Purdy was darn near as close to perfect as you can be on today. Again, the box score guys out there, he was 8 for 8. That is literally perfect. There was one play that you're like, ooh, that's ugly. But it does come with, again, some context. Purdy was pressured by Mykel Williams, who had himself a pretty good day today off the ankle injury, got by the offensive tackle, forced his way into the backfield, and got a would-be fumble on Brock Purdy. Not sure if that would have been a fumble come the actual game time, but it at least would have been a sack and a fumble maybe. So, not a great play there. So that's like the one thing you want to clean up and fix if you are Purdy. But other than that, he was flawless in the box score and had the highlight of the day. The practice was more light, mind you, coming off an off day. So there wasn't too much intensity. Tomorrow should be much more intense for the San Francisco 49ers with Christian McCaffrey back and Nick Bosa back and Trent Williams back tomorrow. It should be more intense, but today, lighter day, and Brock Purdy took a big advantage of that. He torched this secondary, especially on one play. It was roughly a 75-yard touchdown pass down the right sideline to Demarcus Robinson. That being Demarcus Robinson, had Darrell Luter Jr. beat by steps, plural, steps, not 1, not 2, not 3, maybe about 5 yards of separation. And that's with Purdy slightly underthrowing the football. It wasn't a bad ball by any means, but it was a little underthrown. I'm sure Purdy would tell you that too, but it was still there. Robinson caught it. They put it on social media. You can see it for yourself. But it was just a freaking nuke downfield. No, it wasn't 75-yard air throws, or air yards, but it was far downfield, probably 50 air yards or something like that. It was a good throw. It got to the receiver. We've had too many quarterbacks here, mainly Jimmy Garoppolo, that couldn't get the football to the receivers downfield. So it's nice to have Purdy, who in the last couple practices has been airing that sucker out. And that's what you want to see. You got dad strength now. You better use it, brother. So good to see Brock Purdy out there throwing the ball deep downfield. Again, a 75-yard touchdown pass is not something you just ignore or don't mention. So Purdy out there the last couple days, slinging the rock, making big plays. The last 2 practices ago, or at least 1 practice ago, 2 days ago, it was Jordan Watkins. And today, 1 to Demarcus Robinson, who Robinson hasn't been the best wide receiver in camp. I think when Jauan Jennings was healthy, he would hold that title. Pearsall has also looked pretty good in his short couple days on the football field. Even Russell Gage has certainly a grasp on that title in some form or fashion, but Demarcus Robinson maybe has been one of the more consistent receivers on the football field. Hasn't had the big highlight plays outside of today, but has been kind of the even-keeled, consistent receiver on the roster, which makes me more comfortable if Jauan is going to be out for some time, that Robinson can be that. But he's also showing some chemistry with Brock Purdy, which, it does pay to be out there every single day. Build that chemistry in your first offseason / training camp with your new quarterback, who you're signed to a 2-year deal for. So that's good to see there. And really go into a bigger picture thing. If Jauan's hurt and can't play, not for just this year, or is hurt and San Francisco, kind of declines to pay him, Robinson becomes a de facto big slot receiver next year. So that's a bigger picture conversation, but there are building blocks for good chemistry happening with Jauan Jennings, with Demarcus Robinson and Brock Purdy in Jauan Jennings' absence. Again, it really would be a shame if Jennings missed part of the season and the NFL gave Robinson a suspension because, again, you'd be in some trouble. But Robinson has fit in pretty nicely with the offense. Again, playing with the Rams the last couple of years, he knows the offense. And he just kind of has he slid in very easily, like it's just another day for him, and he's looked pretty good doing so. So I do want to highlight him on a day where he had the big highlight play. So a good stuff from Demarcus Robinson. But let's go into the trenches. Let's move our eyes and ears towards the line of scrimmage, because the offensive line had a much better day today. Now, mainly because Nick Bosa wasn't terrorizing them every single play, but much better day in 1v1s. Dominic Pooney handled business against Jordan Elliott. Colton McKivitz beat Bryce Huff. Huff was giving him the spin move, juke, whatever you want to give him, the slim move, the rip and pull. He was trying it all. He could not get past Colton McKivitz. Nick Zakelj, who, again, Kyle Shanahan said was in a competition with Ben Bartch for left guard, he looks a lot stronger this season. Now, the last couple years, Zakelj has been kind of the practice squad depth guy. Why is he still around kind of player? Really, that's who you're keeping over XYZ guy. That was a big conversation, but last offseason when they cut Jarrett Kingston, of like, why are we doing this? But to Zakelj's credit, he's looked a lot better in training camp this year. He looks bigger. He looks stronger. The anchor has improved, and today he held up against Kevin Givens and Evan Anderson, which Evan Anderson, for being a undrafted free agent last year, he got some starts last year. Probably won't start this year, but he's got a heck of a bull rush, which kind of made San Francisco give him guaranteed money last offseason. So to do that, again, it's not Collins or Michael or one of the bigger defensive tackles in the NFL, but Zakelj has looked pretty good through his, small 1v1 sample size we've gotten thus far. And to know he's in a competition, it makes sense as to why he's looked better. He's looked improved, and it seems like San Francisco wants to at least reward him with the opportunity to earn a starting job walking into the season. Going to the defense, though, for 1 second, Kalia Davis, who I am shocked made it past roster cuts last year. He has been hurt year in, year out. They were hyping him up coming out of college. Oh, he's the next, he's the next bowling ball defensive tackle. Oh my God, he's going to be, one of the big factors in what we do defensively. And this never has been that for them. He's the next DJ Jones. And it's like, really? This is the guy? And he's looked better in training camp. I'm not going to say he's DJ Jones because, who is right now on the roster. But Kalia Davis today had a pretty good day. He bullied the hell out of Zach Johnson. Zach Johnson just, I don't know what happened. Zach Johnson looked like he was the kid in the 80s high school, comedy, getting stuffed into a locker or put in the trash can, because when I tell you Kalia Davis, forced him to the ground, Kalia Davis, bullied him to the turf. It was ugly. He had a bad day. He looked shameful. It was one of those things where you're questioning your pride after the day that Zach Johnson had today on the practice field. CJ West continues to impress. He wasn't perfect. He wasn't as good as 2 days ago, but continues to have a strong day. He's stacking days is what they would tell you in the media sessions there at training camp. He beat Drake Nugent a couple times today, who was playing guard and center, and just really looks like he just overpowers the current crop of guards on the roster, which, to be fair, Shanahan's always liked lighter guards on the roster because he wants to pull them out and move. But West has just made them look like children. Like he is a young man making the veteran guards and centers look like boys on the defensive line, which, take that as you will. It's definitely a good thing for CJ West. You want him to get more reps against Jake Brendel and Pooney and stuff. But even then, he made Pooney look pretty foolish a couple days ago. So West continues to stack days for San Francisco. One other underrated guy, which I don't know if he makes the roster. I think San Francisco would love that. But I think he's more keen to a practice squad role, which may lead to some elevations once the year progresses and guys get hurt and whatnot. But undrafted free agent out of Washington, Sebastian Valdez, he looked explosive as all hell today off the line of scrimmage against Drake Nugent and rookie Connor Colby in 1v1s. He's a guy where you don't usually slot him in your roster predictions of the group of 9 to 10 defensive linemen they'll keep, but there is no promised Kalia Davis, Evan Anderson, even Jordan Elliott make the roster. So to see Valdez, you kind of catch some eyes. It's like, oh, who is that? That's Sebastian Valdez. It wasn't like the greatest day of all time. He wasn't sacking Brock Purdy 19 times or whatever, but it was a strong day from a guy that I think San Francisco really wants to see blossom and maybe edge out one of the veteran guys on the rosters, or edge out one of the veterans for a roster spot this season. Let's move to the back end of the front seven, the linebacking position. And for once, it's not about D. Winters, although D. Winters did deflect a pass from Brock Purdy, I think, during some off to the side team stuff, not during actual team drills. But Chazz Surratt, linebacker from the New York Jets, he was brought in as kind of a last-second addition to the roster. Obviously spent time with Saleh and Brant Boyer in New York the last couple seasons, and he hasn't flashed much during training camp. There's been a few play here or there, but nothing much to kind of talk about during shows like this. But they were using him more as a blitzer today. And now you start to see, okay, I see where Surratt fits into...
This episode is brought to you by the world's first reposado from Tequila Herradura. Made with slow-cooked, hand-harvested agave sealed into oak barrels and aged 11 months. Before being enjoyed in your glass. Experience the world's first reposado. Tequila Herradura. Please drink responsibly. Responsibility.org. Tequila Herradura. 40% alcohol by volume. Imported by Brown-Forman, Louisville, Kentucky. Herradura is a registered trademark. Copyright 2025 Brown-Forman Corporation.
The fray. I see where his strengths lie, and he's okay in coverage. Again, not going to blow you away, but as a blitzer today, looked really good. Had a couple of would-be sacks, and probably would have been sacks if the games were actually being played. And he also looks pretty quick. I'm not going to go assume he'll make the roster, but again, you have Warner, you have Winters, you have Martin. Those are kind of your three locks. Then you have Luke Gifford, who you brought in as kind of a primary free agent signing to be one of your practice or one of your kind of backup special teams guys. He's taken first team reps in training camp thus far, probably going to start once preseason games come. But behind him, Tatum Bethune, not really a solid guy or wasn't drafted by Saleh. You have Jalen Graham, who was cut last year, brought back. There's nobody really else that's solidified in their role. So if Surratt can kind of etch out the blitzer, special teamer role kind of guy, there's room for him to make the roster, certainly, and jump over younger guys like Graham and Bethune, maybe even Gifford if he outplays him. So it was a good day from Chazz Surratt. Not a name I'd watch, but certainly piqued my interest today on the field. Nicholas Martin, though, finally getting involved in the podcast takeaway reactions recap of training camp for the first time. And I tell you this, Nicholas Martin flies around the field. You saw it at Oklahoma State pre-injury. You can see it kind of in his draft makeup. You can see it when he's on the field. And you can see why San Francisco maybe likely overdrafted him in the third round. They coveted him. The traits are off the charts. He's running around, flying around one sideline to the other. He's doing that stuff that you say, that is a Robert Saleh wide nine, Niners linebacker. It all makes sense. He's uncontrolled chaos, though, because on one rep, he'll get a good run stop. The next rep, he'll force a fumble. Both those things happened today. He was around the football a lot today, but he has all these traits. He just doesn't know how to play in the defense. And I think it's a reason as to why he'll not start. I think it's a reason as to why he can use a year in the defense, kind of like Azeez Al-Shaair got. He had a year, then kind of blossomed in year 2 and 3. But again, the traits are off the charts. Love them. He just is really uncontrolled. They can rein him in and kind of get him more focused. Again, the traits are off the charts. And so you can see the building blocks of a good, solid San Francisco 49ers linebacker in Nicholas Martin, but he needs some reining in to kind of make him take that next step. Again, it's early. The more time he plays, he'll get better, but he just needs time. He's not ready now. He's probably not going to be ready in year 1, but a lot to like. Just, again, need to kind of, if you want to use kind of a kid example, he needs to color inside the lines, and then he can progress to the next thing first. But nonetheless, a pretty good day from Nicholas Martin. Just, again, get inside those lines, and you'll have a more controllable, yet chaotic and energetic player on the defense. 10 today's show, though, we will end where we always do, or usually do at least, the kicking competition. Everyone's favorite stats to watch, everyone's favorite portion of the show is what is happening with Greg Joseph and Jake Moody. Now, there's a little bit of a controversial or controversy in these stats today because Greg Joseph was perfect. Down the middle, 4 for 4 from 33, 37, 43, and 54 yards. He was perfect. It was good. Right in the uprights. For Jake Moody, though, he made it from 33 yards, 37 yards, and 43 yards. And then when he got to the 54-yard field goal, he kicks it. It's looking good. You think it's going in. It starts to kind of sway itself to the right, and you go, is that going in? And then you go, oh, it was in. Then you go, wait, was it out? And so your eyes instantly go to the refs under the goalpost like, hey, signal, was it good? Was it wrong? And you know what they did? Them freaking zebras didn't do nothing. Didn't put their hands up. Didn't look straight. They just stood there like they were an NPC. And it's like, hey, brother, why are you here? You getting paid? I'll put the stripes on. Get me in there, coach. I'll put it's good. Or, it's bad. He didn't make it. Incomplete. I'll do whatever it takes to be a ref in the NFL, man. It'd be so fun. I'd be throwing flags left and right and I'd be screwing things in San Francisco's favor and just rigging games and say, well, they won a Super Bowl, but the caveat is Sterling Bennett, we're rigging the games for him. I don't care. But in training camp, and you're trying to figure out training camp stats, if they matter to you, or just what did Jake Moody or Greg Joseph do in practice, they only get 4 attempts apiece. You don't see them often, and this is a pretty important positional battle. They didn't do anything. The refs had their hands down, didn't say it was good, didn't say it was bad, so it looked like Jake made the kick. May have missed it. I don't know. Nobody really knows. We were all just like, Okay? You're asking, did he make it? Did he miss it? Did he make it? And it's like, we all said, shrug. I have no idea. But so a little bit of controversy in the kicking room. Maybe Jake has made all of his kicks today. Maybe he's missed. But what would be a San Francisco 49ers competition without a little bit of controversy? In honor of Trey Lance playing tonight and looking pretty good, with Harbaugh slapping the pads, getting me emotional for a second out there, we have some controversy in the kicking room between Jake Moody and Greg Joseph. But other than that, that's the end of today's show. There wasn't much to get into in regards to practice, a lighter day for the San Francisco 49ers. We're all waiting for a more intense battle and practice tomorrow on, Friday? What's today? I have no idea what today is. It doesn't matter. It's not important. But Friday, I think that's tomorrow, and kind of send you off in the weekend with a very tough practice. 90 minutes today, probably a more intense 90 minutes tomorrow. But Trent, McCaffrey, Bosa, all back tomorrow. Maybe you get to see one of the guys that missed today's practice back tomorrow too. At least let's hope so. But yeah, that's all I have for you today. What did you think about Brock Purdy's perfect day? Are you concerned about the receiver injuries plaguing the roster? Does the cornerback depth bother you? Tell me down below in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the show on YouTube. Subscribe, hit that like button on the audio podcasting platforms. Give us that 5-star audio podcast review. Searching for 100. It's a big ask, but I trust you guys out there. 100 audio podcast reviews before week number 1, opening day of the NFL season. You can also follow us on social media at 49ers_access is the X or Twitter. 49ers.access is the Instagram. And you can use promo code 49ersaccess, 49 ERS ACCESS at SeatGeek.com to save yourself $20 off your first purchase. I want to thank Lori Matthews, Aaron from 49ers First Takes, and Kyle Chipto, and even Bobo, who I'm sure eventually will watch this video. Thank you so much for watching here on YouTube. Again, like, share, and subscribe. Football was back today, the first preseason game. How did you celebrate? Tell me down below in the comments. And as always, until next time, my name is Sterling Bennett, and stay faithful.
Popsicles, sprinklers, a cool breeze. Talk about refreshing. You know what else is refreshing this summer? A brand new phone with Verizon. Yep, get a new phone on any plan with Select Phone Trade-in and My Plan. And lock down a low price for 3 years on any plan with My Plan. This is a deal for everyone, whether you're a new or existing customer. Swing by Verizon today for our best phone deals. 3-year price guarantee applies to then current base monthly rate only. Additional terms and conditions apply for all offers.